Humpty Dumpty. I've says the wrong thing, Stephen. That's not a good start.
Hello and welcome on into this Wednesday's edition of Movie News here at MBE. We'd just like to thank you once again for joining us here on our YouTube channel, of course our Twitch stream. I'm one of your co-hosts, Stephen John McLaughlin. Our other co-host, who's all bandaged up, is John C. Walsh. How you doing, John? Apart from that,
I'm doing
disfigurement.
fine, yes. A chunk of my knuckle missing. But apart from that, I'm hunky-dory, Stephen.
Yeah, talk about things missing. Movie news last night was missing, and that was the reason, guys. John was self-repairing himself.
I was furiously searching up news about Article 4 and 5 of the NATO agreement after one of Vlad's missiles errantly made its way 4 kilometres into Poland. And it was pitch black and I tripped over the steps, and lo and behold, my hand was scarlet. I had to go to the hospital and get my hand x-rayed, Stephen. Wasn't great,
no.
but I did get a chippy, so it was a happy ending.
A little happy chippy, yeah. John, Putin's always to blame when it comes to us
Putin
not doing movie news. Always the same.
He's a bastard.
Yeah, but as long as we can come back the next day and do a movie news, and he's not done anything to the world in that time, that's all I'm concerned about. But
well, I discovered last night, Stephen, we'll go off on a brief little tangent here before we get into the news of RRR. I was on a thread on a certain website and they were discussing Trident Nuclear, the base. Nuclear Man. 49 miles away, the blast radius of these fucking
I would rather be next to it.
50 miles, Stephen. So we're a mile in. Should we get incinerated?
Yep.
So that's a bonus.
It's a blessing, yeah.
Yeah, unless you're off somewhere. We don't have to live through a nuclear winter. So I'm quite happy with that. I won't be happy with that when I'm like Sarah Connor, standing at my window, watching it coming. But it'll be quick.
Yeah, it'll be. Yeah, just turn your back. Best thing to do. But anyway. Hopefully, we're here and we're breathing, living and breathing,
we will be,
to see the sequel of RRR.
Vlad doesn't want to die either.
Yesterday, John, obviously, we would have covered this sooner. Obviously, if you didn't have your accident, but it's big news. It really is big news. RRR 2 gets exciting update from original movie director. I don't really like that headline, original movie director.
Yeah, it does me not, and I didn't put that headline in.
He's the only director. He's not the original director. He's
my
the
headline
only
was,
and he's the writer.
Here, SS Rajamouli shares an exciting update about RRR 2.
Yes.
Did I put a question mark in? I'm about to.
Yeah, you could put one in, John, I suppose, yeah, why not? That's a question at the end of the day. Or is it? You're posing the is it an exciting update, or is it not? But I think it is. But horses for courses. John, we covered RRR for the best part of a year, I would say, on our movie news show. Apart from obviously doing the watch along and doing the review, we have covered it before the film came out, and obviously the aftermath during as well, yeah. And one thing we never talked about was a sequel, because I can't speak for you, I didn't see this coming.
No.
I thought it was a one and done. Now it says in the article, John, about SS Rajamouli's previous work with Bahubali, the beginning and the conclusion, and they mention the sequel, as they call it, was a bigger success than the first film. Now I'm not going to argue with that. The second part of the movie was, but I don't class it as a sequel. No. I thought it was one continuous story.
No, Mahendra was better than his father in every way.
Yeah,
he was able to defeat Baladeva. And that, I mean,
and
bullshit. I've just says his father could have defeated him as well, but he was stabbed in the back.
Yeah, but I mean, the way it was constructed and written, it was written as a one story, whereas this hasn't been written yet. And I didn't know that SS Rajamouli worked along with his father to collaborate in the writing of the story. So there's nothing.
That's great.
There's nothing in the cloud, if you like, in terms of plot or anything like that just now. So we know, at least officially, RRR was never meant to be a 2-part story.
But
it
Stephen,
was always going to be a one.
You're mentioning family sort of writing teams, and we've seen this over in the West.
Yeah.
Some brilliant familial writing partnerships. The Gilroys brothers, John and Tony Gilroy. And then obviously you've got the Kasdans, Lawrence and John Kasdan. Father and son, who have wrote very successfully together. So I like that. I like the fact that there's that sort of familial bonding going on.
I thought you were going to say the Kardashians.
The Kardashians, well, I mean, love them or loathe them.
Yeah.
They have been hugely successful.
Yeah,
and
but
that's
they're not
the sort of family.
writers.
They're not prolific writers. They're just prolific at selling shit and selling themselves.
Yeah, selling themselves. Yeah.
But they're good at it. I personally don't watched them. I don't know anything about them. I only know Kim because she was married to Ye, who's now fucking finished. He's outed himself as an anti-Semite. He's just lost the plot. She's the only one I really know, but yeah, successful, but not really in terms of writing movies that I'm aware of. More of selling perfumes and all sorts of other fucking nonsense.
Yes.
And posting photographs of their backside up on the internet, which apparently broke the internet.
Yeah,
What
but
didn't.
John, families who write together, whether it be siblings, sisters, mother, daughter, father and son, whoever it may be. I said siblings and I went sisters. Same fucking thing. You're absolutely right. It does tend to, yes, mega.com. I think, John, you're absolutely right. But in terms of this, I didn't know this. I thought SS Rajamouli was a sort of lone wolf in terms of his ideas and working on his own, that kind of thing. But it kind of makes sense that a bit of collaboration from someone that knows him and he knows him, and I think it makes sense.
Well, Stephen, it comes through in the man's work. What is always in the free movies, the limited movies we have seen of SS Rajamouli, admittedly, obviously
there's a
part
generation,
1, part 2, there's always
thing,
generational stuff, and it's strong family values that come through. You look at RRR, you think of Beam, you think of Ramaraju.
Yeah.
They're both keenly linked to sort of family structures. Obviously with Beam, not so much, but it's this sort of community spirit, this rural village. He goes out and does his damnedest to get that girl back.
Both of the characters are almost brothers, aren't they? They're,
and then the family's sort of almost structured between these two guys as well.
There's a bromance.
It's something that's always really strongly linked to the stories that this man crafts, and you can obviously, it's more understandable now that you realise it's him and his father who are penning the stories.
It does make sense, doesn't it?
And Stephen, it's something obviously in regards to this update, it's going to potentially slant this more towards a positive.
Yeah.
Because this could go two ways. You could say an exciting new update, as you said rightly. Never really get a sense that there was room for a sequel. That look, RRR2 doesn't mean it's a sequel. It could be a prequel. It could be anything.
Yeah. Well,
never got the sense, but the fact that it is this father and son who have been so successful in the past, they wouldn't go out and even think about a sequel to this movie if there wasn't rationale behind it. There wasn't somewhere to go.
NTR Junior and Ram Charan, John, it suggests to me that they are on board for this. I don't think Rajamouli would be talking about this if they weren't on board, because
you could do a spin-off with a totally hold on, I need to change that.
Do not do that. That's a speed 2. You do not do that.
Yeah, but Stephen, you say that, but we are doing that with A Quiet Place. Well, potentially Lupita Nyong'o coming in to sort of lead a spin-off A Quiet Place movie within the same universe, not following the Abbotts or the Abbots, however you say their name.
The Abbots,
it's the Abbots. Not the Abbotts. That sounds like a strange sort of incestuous redneck family that would pop up in X-Files. The Abbotts. The Abbotts. Yeehaw!
Keep them under the bed, yeah.
So, it's twice I've barked on a show tonight. It's going to be one of those shows. There is potential. I've not seen it done successfully yet, I'm not going to lie. Spin-offs. We've seen LeBron try to do a spin-off Space Jam movie, by all accounts, judging on the response.
Dear.
Not as good.
No.
He's not as good a basketball player as Michael Jordan, and the movie wasn't as good as the original. So, Stephen, I think you're right. I'll bring that back up at Browser. For this to really succeed, I think it has to die on the hill of its two leading men.
John, I want to see more adventures with these guys, and I think for it to make sense, they would have to be up against the British Raj once more. I don't think they should maybe go off and do something completely different. I think it should be their continuing story. If it's a sequel, that is, you're absolutely right.
Continuing story of Bungalow Bill.
If it's going to be a prequel or not, But this is what he had to say, John. I'm only going to read the quote, and then, because we've already mentioned the father, I think it's Prasad, his name is, who's currently working on the story for a sequel. It's a sequel to this.
So it is the father that's actually working?
Yeah, so he said, I would absolutely love to do that. I can't reveal many details about it, but my father is the story writer for all my films. We discussed a bit about it, and he is working on the story. So at least we know there's something in the works. John, I always like when there's a quote, because then it's concrete, it's solid. It's coming. It will come eventually. It's not rumoured.
Chewbacca here, Stephen?
Yeah, thanks to Harley.
Fucking dog.
But Yeah, I mean, it's good to see that, John. I didn't know he worked in all his films, but
so it's been a sort of wide, long career thing with Rajamouli and
so
his
there's
father.
consistency there.
What's his father's name? Prasad?
Prasad, yeah.
Rajamouli.
Yeah, so it's good. It's excellent. Where it takes us, I don't know, John, but
this is where we can start theorising,
yeah,
Stephen, in
yeah,
terms
that's
of
what I'm going to say, John.
where
About
to go with this. There's a couple of potential avenues. You could go back and look at the father of Rambaraju. That's limited scope, though. We have seen where it goes. Ajay Devgan's a wondrous actor.
Yeah.
We could really look into that. But then you've got the issues you have with every prequel story. You know the ending. And then the writing has to be exquisite. You have to really do what they're doing in Andor and live through other characters who we don't know the fates of. They're your sort of emotional linchpin.
Yeah, the stakes,
So, yeah, your stakes. We've seen it fail with the prequels to an extent Star Wars, because there wasn't enough interesting characters surrounding the guys we already knew about. So for me, it has to be a sequel. If we're going with obviously Rambaraju and Beam again. And that really only leaves something similar to what we discussed before we come on, Stephen. Different decades, almost turning this into an Indiana Jones.
I would love that. I
where
would
it's
love
different decades, different variants of British villain. And these guys get progressively more experienced and live different things, and it just enables them to go up a gear and take on a higher level of villainry, if
What I
you
hope
like.
they don't do is that RRR 2 is the Western film that they were talking about. I don't want them to take this out of India. I want them to keep in India with us. Because that brings up another thing in terms of SS Rajamouli's schedule. Because he'll be a busy guy after the success of this as well.
And we've looked at this man's filmography, Stephen, and he doesn't do a huge number of movies.
No.
This is a guy that's got limited movies over
We've said it
years
before,
or
John.
something.
He's almost like a Chris Nolan or a Tarantino in terms of event films. And you're absolutely right. He's not done a lot of
I'll bring it up right
a
now.
lot of films, and he's done a bit of writing, obviously, but 13 films
a new one
in the space of 20 odd years. I suppose that's quite
12.
That's
That's
years.
including a pre-production effort. SMB 29. This is
his first one was Student Number 1, but
2001. Yeah, so
John,
21 years, 12 movies. That's one every couple of years. So
Ega, we are going to have to check out.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know what this pre-production thing is, SSMB 29, but
I
it's
think that's
obviously
just, this is what they do.
his 29th involvement in a film. Clearly not
Yeah.
his 29th film as a director.
Yeah.
But I would say it's probably as producer, writer.
We've seen this with Telepathy though, Stephen. They like to number the releases after the name. And we've also seen it with who was the other one? Was it Danish? He's got his own production company.
I think so, yeah.
I think he did 50 movies or something along those lines. I think it was 50, something like that anyway. And we got that in a trailer. It was like Danish something. Maybe in Surya, actually. It was one of them.
I think it was
They
Surya,
like to
actually. I think
number.
you're right, yeah.
Yeah, they like to number the movies. So
it's funny that how some actors do that and some don't, isn't it? You
some
look
are
at the
just
likes
so
of
busy. I mean,
Amir Khan, I suppose, SRK, I don't know.
about 100
Yeah.
movies.
I suppose.
You think of VG Sefapafi, Stephen, this man's churning out 4 or 5 movies a year.
Yeah.
So you start numbering them, it's fucking, you're going to be hitting 300 at some point. It's no point,
We've
really.
already got a film called 300,
I
but
think that's more for the event. I mean, I'm not doing down VG Sefapafi, but he himself would admit he's not on the level of a Telepathy in the south, or a Surya, potentially, or up north an Amir Khan, a Shah Rukh Khan. These guys are event actors. They've reached a certain level where they can number. It's almost like, fuck everything else, screw the directors, the rest of the cast, this is my production,
about me,
with my number,
yeah.
and that's it, they move on. But Stephen, I think you were about to say in terms of scheduling,
Yeah.
would that allow us to fit in a western? I don't know if that was what you were going to say, a western
But no, I was
movie.
going to say, I hope it's not. This is not going to be the western. I hope this stays to its roots. But what will come first? That's the thing. Will he want to perhaps maybe? I don't want to say hanging the coattails. That's a bit of a disrespectful thing to say, isn't it? But while he's on this role with the sort of western focus, the attention that he's getting from the western world, again, not that he needs it, but he's obviously made a household name for himself worldwide because of RRR. I don't know why it wasn't Bahubali, because for me, I think that's still the better film.
probably just a timing thing, Stephen. I mean, you
be,
think of
it could be.
Bahubali, it came out when it was 2017, 15. In the West, we would have been absolutely neck deep in like fucking Avengers stuff
MCU,
and Infinity War
Yeah.
and stuff like that would have been coming out not long after that.
Yeah.
You'd have been in the midst of all that Civil War and things happening. That would have dominated. That was all consuming over here.
But
So
I
it was
think
just
that,
a sort of.
I think a Western film would be the right thing to do if he wants to have that exposure once more with Hollywood or whatever it may be.
Mm-hmm.
And I think this is the time to do it, rather than do RRR2 and then do it.
Oh, but what I was saying, Stephen, as well, back when we were last discussing it, I think I was actually discussing a potential Prince of Persia. He spoke of his desire to make a Prince of Persia movie. If he does do a big release for a Western studio for Western markets, I wouldn't want it set in a purely Western locale with an all-Western cast.
No.
This guy, where he excels, is picking up the best Indian talent and letting it shine. We've seen it. Prabhas speaks for himself, but the likes of Rana Dagabati. I always forget the woman who was in Bahubali. There was actually two, but the actual mother
The
figure,
mother,
thing,
yeah.
she was fantastic. She was in a telepathy movie.
Yep.
And then obviously in this, you've got the likes of fucking NTR Jr., Ram Charan, Ajay Devgan. He just seems to know how to get performances. I can imagine if he made the jump over to the West, there's so much shit. You'd have to cast perfectly, man, and just make sure that everything was done
As
correct.
well, John, that not here.
I don't know what.
Yeah, we're here. We're here and we're live and
I
interactive.
presume that was an emoji.
Yeah,
Didn't
I think
come
so.
across in
It's not
this, yeah.
translated, yeah. John, you're absolutely right. I think as well that directors seem to work better with people they know. Doesn't matter how good a director they are. Tarantino will always work with Uma Thurman or Samuel Jackson. These sort of older actors that were famous at one point, the John Travoltas, the Bruce Willis's, Michael Keaton's. I was going to say De Niro, that's talking shite. De Niro's always been good, but he's always
not always been good. He's been poor.
But he's always been an A-lister. That's what I mean. But I think, and the same with Chris Nolan, who always used the Cillian Murphys or the DiCaprios.
Tom Hardy's.
The Hardys. He's got go-tos.
Michael Caine.
Bale as well. And I think it's the same for SS Rajamouli. I think taking him, not that he couldn't do it, but I think directors are more comfortable with working with people they can trust and people they've worked with previously for films. And I don't want to see him bringing an Indian cast over to a Western film in the way that Dhanush was utilised in The Grey Man.
Grey Man, yeah.
I don't want to see that.
But that wouldn't happen. If they are giving him $200 million to make a movie, they've got confidence in the guy. Even $100 million, it shows confidence in what he's obviously able to do, the magic he's able to bring to the silver screen. And then with that confidence, you would imagine he'd be allowed freedom to bring over and do what he wants for the cast, eyeballs. But my concern with that, Stephen, would be, did I say, I don't know why I said eyeballs, it doesn't matter. My concern would be if it was, I don't know why I said eyeballs. That's so random. Do what he wants to do, and then I just said eyeballs for some reason. That just came into my head. No idea why.
So what do you think? Eyeballs!
Eyeballs! No, my concern would be if he was to come over and do a big Western movie and it was sort of Indian origins, he gets some sort of past their best Western fucking A-lister thrust on him just to give it, I don't know, prestige with the Western side of things. That would be my big concern.
Yeah, I mean, they could do the same thing, I
Bruce
suppose.
Willis.
I mean, he could do the same, I suppose, with veteran actors from India as well. Like, you could bring what's his name, the fella that was in PETA, Rajamouli. Just what's he doing here? That kind of thing,
It's mental.
I love that when that happens, and I loved it in going off on a tangent. Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, when they brought in Nicholas Hammond, who played the original live action Spider-Man, and he was the one that wanted DiCaprio's character to wear the fake beard and the wig and all that to obviously distinguish him from his TV work. And I was like, that's Nicholas Hammond. I've not seen this guy in about 40 years. And I love when they do that, directors.
What was your first superhero movie?
Yeah,
that was
the first film I ever saw, John. So I got a big kick out of that. I went, he's still alive and kicking, which is great. And he was good in that as well. I thought he had played a very small part, but very good. Rod Taylor as well, pulled out of the hat from Tarantino in Inglourious Bastards. Played Churchill, I think. In a very small scene. Mike Myers was in the same scene.
I remember it well, yeah.
And I was like, that's fucking Rod Taylor. Australian's Rod Taylor. From the Time Machine, H.G. Wells' Time Machine. What's he doing here? It's mental. And that's what I'd love to see him do. I'd love to see him pull something like that out of the hat if he does that kind of film. But I don't know. It's
getting back to Triple R though, Stephen.
Yeah.
It really comes down to, is there scope for it? Is there rationale outside of just pure financial gain and try to maybe, I don't know, springboard off the success of the first? If there is actual scope to do something, there's an actual story that's coherent, and you can get the right actors on board, if indeed they're going back with the original two from the first movie, make it, by all means make it. If that none of those things are there, and it's just try to springboard for sheer financial success or gain, don't do it, man, because it will flippity flop. But I've got pure faith, and not just Rajamouli, but now his father Prasad as well. Now I've discovered he's behind the writing as well. I've got faith that they wouldn't do that. They're not sort of cop-outs. They wouldn't go down that cheap route.
No,
and give us some nonsensical sequel for the sake of giving us it. Everything they would do, looking at the limited filmography that he's had over 21 years, would suggest that they pick and choose their films very carefully, and there must be some avenue they want to explore, be it in the future, the past, present day, I don't know when the fuck it's going to take place, with potentially Bhima Ramaraju. I'd like to see it again, Stephen. We spoke about it before we came on, man. The cast was perfect. I say the cast, it was, because also we had, I forget her name, she was in a Gangabai, I think it was. I always forget her name. Female actress, played the wife of Ramaraju. Completely underutilised.
Yeah.
But with Ajay Devgan, he was brilliant. The British actors were shit, let's be honest. But I'm going to expand it to cast purely because of Ali Abbat.
Yeah.
I'll expand it to cast just because of Ajay Devgan being in there. But realistically, this movie was NTR Jr. and Ram Charan. The casting, the chemistry of those two guys was palpable. That's what made this movie such an enjoyable watch. The chemistry popped off the screen. You could feel the sort of, they liked each other. They had a good time filming the movie. That's what would make the next movie succeed if they were bringing them back.
It's a risk, John, and it's a risk worth taking, I think, because I had to look it up. I had to make sure the directors were exactly the same in Sang Ho Yeon and Train to Busan's Presents Peninsula, which wasn't a patch on obviously the original movie, but it's not.
That was
really
different cast, though.
It's different cast, John. It had to be because everybody was fucking dying. But I think as well, John.
That's a good example.
But it's a good way of saying, well, it's not really tainting the original movie. People will still love the first movie anyway, regardless of its sequel or if it's continuation, if you like. So I don't think it's a risk in any sense it's going to do the original film any harm. And I think if you get, as you said, if you get the original, let's be honest, we only need those two to be in it anyway. I don't really care who else is surrounding them, as long as they're good actors. But that's another thing we could talk about as well in terms of the villains of the film. It was one of the sort of things that I had an issue with the first film, was that they weren't I know they didn't have to be fleshed out as part of the storytelling. It didn't really make much of a difference, but the acting from the British actors and the dialogue was a little bit ropey, I felt. And I think if they're going to be doing a sequel and they're going to be doing the British Raj once again, then please get better actors in. Just
don't bring James Cosmo in, because he didn't do much better.
No, that Danush movie.
The Danush movie, Jagami Fandaram.
Yeah.
He wasn't much better than that, man, and he is an actor of reasonable esteem. I say reasonable, he's certainly not a fucking A-list British star.
I don't know if it's maybe the transition between being intoxicated by an Indian performance and dialogue and accent and language, and then you hear a British person speaking and it sounds jarring. I don't know if maybe that's something to do with it.
Shit.
James Cosmo, James Cosmo's not a bad actor.
He wasn't bad in the movie, Steve. No. He wasn't horrendous. He just played a bad man. He just
sometimes the accent, and it was a Scottish accent, to be fair, but
he was playing a sort of,
doesn't it?
You know the type he was playing. I don't have to go down that route.
Yeah, racist.
Racist, sort of xenophobic
bigot.
Sort of typical man of that generation from the British Isles. Not had a lot of good things to say about anybody. It wasn't fucking Casper the Ghost White.
Yeah.
Played that character, so maybe that's a part of it as well. It's hard to like. I got on board with a character like that, but we know that James isn't like that. I presume he isn't in real life. He seems to be reasonably sound despite the football team he supports.
He does remind me in terms of his sort of personality like Brian Cox in a way.
Yeah.
He's very rooted to his country, but I don't think I doubt he's very much like that character, John.
No, he's not. Absolutely no chance. He's a man of the arts.
Yeah.
No man of the arts would ever be like that. I don't know of many.
No.
Thespians, wouldn't you call them? Or an artiste, or a musician who's, strangely enough, right-wing in their political viewings. Because not that I'm saying that it's purely a right-wing issue.
No.
To be xenophobic or racist, but it seems to be an inordinate amount of them do swing in that way. Whereas the left-wingers don't tend to be quite as racist or xenophobic or bigoted. But look, we'll not go down that rabbit hole. We'll not speak about politics. Far too late for that nonsense. And it's got nothing to do with RRR. Stephen, you're right. There's two things that will make or break a potential sequel here, or just whatever, quasi-sequel. Getting the cast and absolutely bang on. Nailing it. If it is going to be NTR Junior and also Ram Charan coming back, that's a big positive, because that means they've got something coherent mapped out.
Yep.
Those guys have read it, like it, and they're willing to come back and perform once again. That would be a big boost. But the other thing that could make or break it would be the villains, because we do, in another movie, have to do better with the villains. The reason they get away with it in that first movie to an extent was the fact that the sort of warring of Beam and Ramaraju halfway through the movie, they turned, it was the fire, the water. Yeah. They were almost making up for the very poor British villains who were fucking cardboard 2D sort of
make him
he's
suffer.
Behind you sort of fucking theatre villain. It's like that's.
Do you remember the wife? She pulled out the ball and chain thing.
Yeah.
Where did she get that from?
I have no idea. Well, fuck.
Use this.
Looking at her mug, it'd be hard to work it out. Probably one of those weird fuckers that gets up to all manner of crazy fucking things. So that's another thing we didn't get down. So yeah, we have to get
eyeballs.
We have to get British.
Yeah.
Time travel, that's what I was like. Yeah, eyeballs. I should just do that every now and then. Eyeballs. If I'm struggling for something to say, British. If it's going to be British, it might not even be British villains in this potential sequel. But if it is going to be the continuance of maybe like some strange Indiana Jones style thing meets RRR, and instead of it being the Nazis, it's the British Empire. You have to get the villains on board. You have to get a higher calibre of actor. Take the weight off of NTR Junior and Ram Charan's shoulders.
Yeah.
But ultimately, Stephen, it all comes down to the script. The script has to be there. The story has to be there. There has to be proper reason to make this movie. Otherwise, you're doomed to fail.
Yeah.
And there we go. There's the intro again. I never do switch it off. This is why I have to fucking hate this setup. I really do. That was the correct thing I clicked. Need to get the screen deck thing sorted out because it's still not working. Where was I there? I don't know. Ultimately, that's why the Train to Busan thing, that's probably the perfect comparison. That's a hugely successful first movie, cult classic, loved across the world, not just in Korea, but fucking everywhere. France, probably India, America, Britain, everyone loved it. They thought, we'll just make a sequel then, and it'll be an immediate success. Set in a different place, whole new cast, fucking flopped. Nowhere near as good. Nowhere near the same amount of people liked the movie.
No.
That's the dangers, that's the pitfalls of doing a sequel to a hugely successful movie. Terminator, you could say it did work because it's T2, but afterwards, fucking shambles.
Yeah.
There's pitfalls. Predator's probably the best example when you're talking about Western action.
Another good one since the original.
No, I mean the second one wasn't horrific, but it certainly wasn't anywhere near the first Predator. So there's pitfalls involved, but you've got to trust Prasad and SS that they will get it right. But I've got nothing more to say, Stephen.
I'm done, John.
I can't believe we actually managed to speak for 30, I want to say 30 minutes.
Yeah, it was pretty
good.
Topic. Yeah. Well, the topic itself speaks for itself,
what
doesn't
theorising.
Yeah.
It was impressive. Yeah. What would you think, though? Those in the community who are perhaps coming in and watching this, if you get to the end and I'm impressed, what did you think about my eyeball moment? I'll have to go back and watch that again. She said eyeballs for some reason, don't know why. I think my head is maybe thinking about, Yeah, bring in the Indian actors, big Indian actors, not Western, because that will maybe help. I was thinking in my head, I'm thinking about big Western actors. That will help with bringing eyeballs in.
Probably look at my eyeballs, John, and wonder why they're all red.
Yeah, mine's are the same, Stephen. Yeah, I
don't
think
know
that's
what
why
it
I
is.
said
I think
eyeballs.
it's Harley. I think Harley's brushed up against my face, so
Yeah. Oh God.
so it's not a good thing.
Yeah, my eyes aren't quite as bad as yours tonight, Stephen. To be fair, I did get a decent sleep. I don't know how much sleep. I know you had some
Yeah.
trials and tribulations of your own last night. I certainly got a better sleep than I
Yeah.
normally get after cutting my hand up to
Kids.
fucking bits.
That's kids for you.
That is kids. Get a dog. Dogs are just lie with their legs wide to the world.
Fat on your
Everything
face.
hanging out. No, he lies head to tail. So I'm firmly clear of the Chernobyl level. Flatulence. Just get a dog. They lie. Just lie and chill. Sleep all fucking day. It's great. It really is. Take them for 2-3 walks a day. Easy life, man. It really is. And they don't cost much unless something goes wrong. But look, I digress. That's a tangent. What's your thoughts on RRR2? Do you want to see a RRR2? Is there room for a sequel? Where would you like to see them take a sequel? Prasad and SS. We did not know that SS Rajamouli's father helped him write his movies. Not help him, but collaborated in the writing process for his movies. Where would you like to see them potentially take a sequel? If it's going to happen, should it happen? Share your thoughts down below if you've got anything to say. Down below in the comment section is a place to put all of your coherent thoughts. No assay, man, please. We've had quite enough of that last year. That's about a year ago.
All that.
Or 69mega.com, new AI dating for all tastes and ages. All tastes and ages, really? You cater for 90-year-olds then, do you? Because that's a very niche dating app, that is. 90-year-olds getting in there, man. Fucking trembling through age, can't even speak, can't stand up. How's that working? Lord knows. They've got you covered though. Share your thoughts down below if you've got anything to say at all. That's the place to put it. You can also like the video if you've enjoyed it. Subscribe to the channel, hit the bell icon on YouTube to get notifications straight to your eyeballs for future content like this. Live shows Monday through Wednesday, unless I cut my fucking knuckle wide opened like I did this week, this week. And reactions, watch alongs, the full shebang on the channel if you're enjoying it. That's how to enable the ability to see our notifications of any moment they drop. Nearly forgot about Twitch. Do the same over on Twitch as well. Follow button and notifications button over there to see us live. No pre-recorded content on Twitch, sadly. Not our fucking fault. Regardless of what you do though, thank you once again for watching us. And all that leaves us to say is until the next time me and Stephen are done. Bye.
Eyeballs.
Eyeballs. I didn't kill my wife. Stephen's doing the Harrison Ford finger wag. I didn't kill my wife. I didn't do my wife.